Okay, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Black Coffee and Crime. This is episode 95. So thank you for joining us. Any new subscribers? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're on YouTube every Thursday, new episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification button. Also, visit us on YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram as well at Black Coffee Crime. What we were just talking about will kind of address why we fascinated with crimes and murders, but we'll get that into to that in a minute. I just realized that we started this in the middle of the pandemic. Like it seems like a long time, but when you realize it really hasn't.
Then are we technically out of the pandemic? Or are we still in the pandemic?
Well, President Biden will lift the emergency tag or whatever in May. As far as that goes, I think that, of course, we still keep seeing new cases of COVID, but I think that's our reality. We're always going to see cases of COVID. But what they're saying is that enough people have had it or been exposed to it that, it goes away. You know what I mean? Of course.
Well, I haven't been exposed or had it, and
yeah,
I still wear my mask though, girl.
More vaccines. I do wear my mask in really super crowded places. Like when it's congested, like a sardine can, I'm putting my mask on, or I already have one with me at all times. When I go into the office, not so much. I put it on in the office when I'm not feeling well, because I know that who knows if it's just allergies or a cold. And then also too, that makes me a little bit more vulnerable. My immune system is not as compromised as yours, but it's not.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My immune system is weak and heavy laden.
Yeah.
So
I have, mine is, it's rickety, like rickety rocket, but, but yeah, I think that knock on wood, I want to say that the worst is over, but I just don't see this going away. I think this is going to be a thing.
No, it's going to be here like the flu.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
And mind you, I haven't had the flu in 25 years, but I got the flu shot and got some kind of heart issue. So won't be getting that anymore.
The last time you got the flu shot?
Yeah, no, I was in the ER for 9 hours and didn't see no doctor.
I got the flu shot and I had site pain. And this was the first time I'd gotten a flu shot in like 8 years or more. But I did have some site pain, and then I was sick for like a week. But I mean, that happens every time I, previously gotten a flu shot. But this is the first time I've had it in a long time. For those who don't want to get vaccinated, don't. Against anything, don't. But if you have health issues or whatever, and err on the side of caution and do whatever you think is best for your body, and so. I'm not promoting the damn thing, but I'm just saying, accept your health. That's the only thing I'm promoting. You take care.
Well, I ain't promoting the flu shot. It was just crazy. Everybody ain't promoting COVID. But after that number of that flu shot, the first time I get the flu shot, first time ever, and I'm up in the ER with my chest all bent up, I'm good.
Okay. I didn't, again, everybody's different. The only reaction I had was, just the site pain. And it really wasn't like my arm was debilitated or anything. It's just that one spot was just like I got a mosquito bite. So.
Well, I should have known. My dad had an issue. He got really sick with the flu shot too and had to go in the hospital. So maybe something wrong with our blood.
Could be. Y'all got the Rubido blood. All right. I'm sorry. Sorry. I got
blood too while you talk.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got like half of it. I got some too, so I really can't talk. All right, so today we are actually going to talk about two things. One of them is the latest episode of Evil Lives Here that came out Sunday the 5th. And it's season 13, episode 3. The episode is called Scratch My Murderous Itch. I don't know who named the episode.
Did that go with the show?
No. So
No.
when I was looking for the title of the episode, I was like, is this the same episode? Because it, there's a very specific reason why. When I was watching the episode, I sent through the group chat, like, y'all need to watch Evil Lives Here, because the fascinating thing about this episode is not even the murderer. The fascinating thing about this episode is the person talking about the murderer. So we'll get to that. And also, I want to talk about why we don't talk about certain things here, which is trauma porn. Which is weird for people who talk about crime and murder all the time and who watch things on crime and murder. There are certain things that we just will not touch. And that's just for self-preservation. Some things you just can't let go of. And so we just choose not to indulge in the first place. So we'll get to that. But let's talk about Evil Lives Here. Now, just a little while ago, I did a little refresher on the episode. And it was as bad. Now, I just watched this 3 days ago, but it was as bad as I thought it was. So the premise of this is this man, Eugene Borg, very religious man, has a son. And the first thing he says is, I don't think my son is evil. Well, yeah, little Tyler is kind of evil.
You think he was? Oh, well, we'll get into that.
So Tyler's ass is bad. Okay.
That's what I thought. I thought he was just bad. I didn't think he was evil. I think he was just bad.
Tyler's ass is just bad, and there was no discipline. He just does things. He does things, and they escalate and they escalate. But the problem is they're not addressed properly, in my opinion, and they escalate, and then he has no consequences for anything that he does, and he takes advantage of that. He has issues as a teenager. He goes to the army, or I think it's the army. He gets out. He seems to be a changed young man, with the discipline of the military and all of that, but his ass is still bad. He gets married, and the marriage is not going well, and he ends up killing his wife's ex-boyfriend. That is pretty much the end. One thing I did find out, Brandy, did you know this happened in Fontana?
No.
Fontana in 2018. Of course, neither one of us lived in California at the time, so we, wouldn't have been on our radar at the time. But yeah, this happened in Fontana, which is a stone's throw from where the both of us grew up. So I just found that interesting. I was like, wow. Okay. Let's talk about Eugene. That's the daddy.
There's some people who got so much church it just ain't no good.
Oh,
they so churchy, it just ain't no good.
Everything that comes out of this man's mouth is the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, and God, and the Bible, and the Lord, and demons, and Satan. But not one time, like he blames every action of his son on demons and Satan, and not the fact that your son has no discipline. Like, Tyler reminds me of, yeah, we talk about this all the time. You remember the Briley brothers? You remember how their mama locked herself in the room and then she left her daddy? Like, his mama left. Tyler's mom, because he always, Eugene refers sometimes in the episode as my first wife, which is Tyler's mom. She left. I can't. I gotta go.
But the thing is, I don't think that he was evil. I think he was bad. And if I think he had the discipline that he needed, he would have been a regular kid. Like, there was a scene where he puts the milk in the aquarium. I put milk in the fish bowl before. I did. I was in first grade. I remember I was in the first grade. The bowl was sitting there. My milk was sitting there. And, it was like a science experiment. I didn't know the fish was going to die. How did I know?
Okay, but Tyler one-upped you, though, because Tyler circled back. So when Tyler,
girl, maybe you like fried fish.
Wait, when you put the milk in the fish tank the first time, okay. Now this is what he did. Okay, so the dad was upstairs, and he hears some commotion downstairs. He goes, Tyler done tore up the whole kitchen. Tore up the whole kitchen. And in doing that, he also poured a glass of milk into the fish tank. So he didn't tore up the whole kitchen. The dad totally dismisses the fact that he has destroyed a room in their house because he's like, that's just mischievous. That's what boys do. But he says the thing that he was most disturbed by was he put milk in the fish tank, in my 55-gallon fish tank. So Tyler kills the fish. He asked Tyler, did you know what you were doing? And Tyler was like, yep. Like, whatever. He didn't say how old Tyler was, though.
Tyler was young.
Yeah, I'd say 5 to 7 years old, maybe.
That was my age.
And then he's like, okay, fine, the fish died. So there's one more fish left. Now, why he only had 2 fish in the 55-gallon fish tank, I don't know. I don't know what kind of fish they were.
But wouldn't the other fish die if there was milk in the tank, or did he have another tank?
No, it was just the same tank. Maybe that one, he got down there kind of fast. So it just depends. Like, because.
So he was.
Yeah. Maybe that first fish was lactose intolerant. We don't know. So he kills the first fish. I think it was the next day or a couple of days later. He gets home and the other fish is float, right? So he just figures the fish was lactose intolerant too. And he goes to get the fish out, but he noticed the water's hot.
That little bird. He boiled the hell out the fish.
As the guy that boiled the shit out of fish.
Oh, Jesus. No, I never did that.
The temperature on the tank was 120. So Tyler.
Well, I did have a friend. This is separate from that. She ended up coming staying at my house because they smelled something burning, and they didn't know what it was. It's like they didn't know if it was wires or whatever. So she spent the night at my house. The next day, they ended up staying home. So I watched her son during the week. So I go over to the house, and sometimes part of our morning routine is we feed the fish. So I was like, "Have we fed the fish in a while?" And he was like, "No, we haven't fed the fish." We go feed the fish. First, the thing smelled like burnt rubber. There was some kind of electrical something with the socket, and it affected the fish tank. Girl, that fish had been sitting there for a couple of days because remember they thought it was, the electricity.
They made
that
fish
thing.
shock. They made
Girl, that thing was hard as a rock.
Oh no!
I mean, that thing was fried through and through.
Oh, they only have. Oh no!
And it was just floating in the water, but nobody paid attention because they don't feed the fish every day.
Well,
yeah. So I don't know how hot Tyler's water was.
Tyler turned it up, as my grandfather used to say, wide open. He turned it on wide open. If you Southern and somebody say turn that on wide open, that means all the way. Tyler put that thing at 120, and that fish was boiled. So he killed the fish. He did that on purpose. Okay, the first time, I get it, kids, experiment, but Tyler knew that his dad would be upset. I think Tyler lived to mess with his dad. But again,
every time his dad, I'm pretty sure his dad was looking funny, praying over him, and asking the demons to go, and he probably just found it. First of all, he lived to make his dad upset because it was like a hobby of his. It was something to do. I really think that Tyler probably was very intelligent, but just was bored.
When he got out of the military, he got a job at like a marketing firm, or where did it say he got a job at? A computer firm. So yeah, he wasn't dumb at all. But
I also think he was very mild compared to some people that Evil Lives Here is my favorite show that we've seen on the show. Because I'm like waiting for Tyler to do like some craziness and to gun down a whole bunch of people and stuff. But the reason that Tyler was the way he was, I'm sure, is because he received no discipline. There was a scene, he had to be young, had to be about 13. Um, he didn't want to go to school, so somebody had told the dad that you're supposed to throw cold water on your
The
son for
doctor
him to get
said
up.
to do it. The doctor.
Yeah, to throw cold water on your son for you to get up. And Tyler had this old switchblade, and he just
And threw it.
And threw it, and it hit in the wall, not in his daddy. Now, first of all, if I didn't get out the bed, if my mom had to go get a cup of water to throw it on me, I would have been in trouble before she went to get the cup of water.
Wouldn't even made it that far. They wouldn't even have escalated to that point. I said, get up. Because
and then if I didn't get up, then she would pull the covers off of me.
See, my mama wouldn't even have pulled the covers off me. I would have known that if she left the room, when she comes back,
I
better be fully dressed.
No, I used to say, get up and pull the covers off of me, and I hated it.
I needed to be fully dressed. Even if she turned around at a 30-second turnaround, I needed to have all my clothes on, because it was going to be all bad. But there was no discipline. This boy won't get up to go to school.
And he was like 13.
And first of all, the advice of the adults is throw water on him. Not talk to the boy, find out what's going on at school. Why don't you want to go to school? And I don't care why you don't want to go.
But your mama would have asked you why you don't want to go to school?
No, absolutely not.
Well, you had to go to school because your mom had to work. So where was you going? You weren't going to sit up at my house all day.
You got to get the hell up out of here. Ain't nobody babysitting you.
And you better go to that school and act right. Don't have them calling me on my job.
I wonder what school he went to. If he went to Montana or Eisenhower.
I don't know.
I'll have to look that up. I'm just curious. Well, there was only 2 schools you could go to. Oh, A.B. Miller, but I don't think A.B. Miller. Well, at that time, A.B. Miller would have been an option. In our day, there was only 2 high schools, but A.B. Miller would have been an option at that time.
I just couldn't fathom the fact that he actually missed days of school
because
this was his dad's last straw to throw cold water on him, and he had that and he just kept flicking that old switchblade and threw it at his daddy. Y'all would have been
flowers and wearing black hats
at my funeral.
Yep. Damn shame what that woman did to that baby girl. It's damn shame.
And I heard she didn't want to get up for school, so
damn shame what she did to her. Now, I don't condone violence against children, but I also don't condone children committing violence against their parents neither. And it wouldn't have been tolerated the way we grew up. And it wouldn't have been tolerated had Eugene, and by and large his wife too, discipline young Tyler. So there was also an incident where he said it was 1989, which would have made Tyler 3 years old, but in the episode he was like 7. When he went outside, Tyler was standing outside on the sidewalk, and he had that probably had some Alka-Seltzer in his mouth or something to make him foam up at the mouth.
Girl, that grossed me out so bad watching that, because I don't like to spit.
So Tyler's standing in there, he's foaming. He said Eugene says he has white foam coming out of his mouth, and Tyler is like in this catatonic type state or whatever, and he's denouncing God, saying he wants his cat to pee on Jesus. Mr. Eugene, why the hell would you even repeat that? Like, why? Why would you repeat that? Okay, if I would
have got in trouble for being outside that young, I'd have been in trouble for being outside, and ain't nobody told me to go outside. Then you sitting up there slobbering all over yourself, you get in trouble for that. And then you sitting here telling me something stupid.
That boy said his cat to pee on Jesus. Brandy, I know this not.
And you said, you better Jesus yourself back into that house.
Oh my God. And like Eugene is like genuinely disturbed by things that normal parents would have been like, Boy, if you don't take care of
I
this
think
child.
that's why he did it, because he's seen how his dad will react, like, "Oh my gosh, she said that." And
He's
I could just see the way his dad was talking about it, that he probably went overboard.
yeah. Yeah. Just a complete holy roller Bible thumper, like those kind. He's the type of person that every other word that comes out of his mouth is there's a war on God, there's a war in heaven, there's a war here. Sir,
I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled a rattlesnake from behind the couch.
Oh. What church did he go to?
I don't know.
Because now it's familiar to me because I know where this happened. So I'm like, what church was Eugene going to?
Was he going to a black church?
It could be.
If he was going to a black church, they wouldn't have told him to throw no water.
They told him to throw hands.
They would tell him to pull that belt off.
Throw some hands. One of the things that Eugene said about Tyler and his behavior, and this is what he said in the show. He says he thought that he was strong-willed, highly independent kid exploring his world with strong zeal and gusto. So all this crap that this boy was doing, it was strong zeal and gusto. So he never addressed his behavior. He never corrected his behavior. He threatened,
because he always blamed it on the devil.
On the devil. It was always the devil. It was never Tyler. It was never, first of all, it was Eugene. It was Eugene. I don't know what kind of demons, inner demons that Eugene was fighting against, that he had to put up, that he blamed all of this on his, his son's behavior on the devil and on Satan. But something's going on there. So Tyler threatens his sister's boyfriend, like beats him to a pulp. Okay, let's back up. Let's talk about this.
I thought he just pulled out an old knife and chased him down the street. I don't think he beat him up.
There was 2 incidences. So the first one was he pulled out the meat cleaver. The second one was, I think this was after he got out of the army, I believe, was that the sister's
the one that was beating up on her.
Yes, was either living in the house or something. And Tyler found out that he had laid hands on her. And Tyler got 2 of his friends to come over and they held him down and they was beating the crap out of him. Eugene gonna step his little pansy ass in there and try to do something. Tyler pins him against the wall. And basically what you gonna do, old man? Kind of deboed him. And he's scared. But there's still no discipline there. First of all, you're supposed to be you got your daughter's boyfriend living in your house.
One of the friends like, dude, that's your dad.
That's your dad. You can't do that to your dad. He's done everything else. But you, Mr. Holy Roller, you got your daughter's man living in the house. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. Yeah. Like, I don't understand that part.
I know that might be bad, but Tyler just needed his butt whooped. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He just needed his butt whooped.
Because I was waiting when this episode started. I was waiting because, like you said, watching Evil Lives Here all 13 seasons, we've seen some pretty heinous stuff.
Yeah.
And, it always says, at the beginning of every show, blah, 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 but there were always signs, right? So I'm looking like, where are the signs? Like, where are the signs? Where's this leading? I'm thinking that Tyler gonna go through and shoot up the school that he done.
Even the ones we've seen where the kid something was really wrong with the kid, they would like physically attack their siblings to actually harm them, make them bleed, like beat them or
scare them to death, throw them, put them
stab them. Tyler did none of those. His sister. The only reason they mentioned his sister twice was because one, she ran one boyfriend off, and the other one, he did nothing to no one other than
scared his dad.
Lost his dad, trials and strife.
That's it. So I'm not trying to make light of so I'm not trying to make light of the person that he did kill.
Yeah.
Not trying to make light of that. But I just thought that this episode was going to be much worse than it actually was. Again, what I found fascinating was the dad telling the story. And what the hell was with them damn carpal tunnel gloves he had on through the whole episode?
I don't know. Maybe he. I don't know.
Like, what is going on, Eugene? Like, I don't understand. So Tyler gets married.
Maybe if he had disciplined his son properly, his son wouldn't have done what he did. I'm thinking because
He knew that there were no consequences to whatever he would do. There were zero consequences. His father would always blame something else. It was never what Tyler was doing. Tyler,
and his emotions, he can do whatever as far as his emotions were concerned. He can act any old way he wanted to. He could be he can be evil, he can be mad, he could be whatever.
And it was always explained away. It was never addressed. And it was always the evil forces, and the devil made you do it. But I'm like, at what point did you ever, besides listening to the doctor and your friend at work telling you that, throwing water on the boy was a good idea? That's the only time it seems like there was any sort of, attempt to give him any consequence to him for his actions. Never that. Once Tyler gets married, it seems to be going okay, and then it doesn't. And I'm quite sure this is not in the episode, but I'm just speculating like I do. I'm quite sure that Tyler's, I don't have to, there's no consequences and I can do whatever I want to do attitude leaked into his marriage. So it wasn't working out. His wife, I think her name was Caroline or something like that, eventually starts messaging her ex-boyfriend. Tyler finds out about it, but he doesn't do anything. He lets it go on. He sees text messages, and then one day he decides he's going to confront the ex-boyfriend. But he kind of puts together a murder kit. He gets extra clothes and all this stuff. He takes his gun. He shoots the gentleman, Justin Kiernan. He shoots the gentleman after like a alleged scuffle in the car, which wasn't a scuffle. He just shot the guy. But he explains that in a police interview that, he put some clothes together and, he was going to, what did he say? He was going to make a strong impression or something, he said. So he kills him.
So he's going to try to strong arm the guy?
He said that he went to go talk to him.
We know they never want to go talk
to him. But what
was he going to talk to him about?
Right. But you took the gun and you took this. You said to the police that you were going to make a strong impression, but this is crazy. After he does this, he shows up at his parents' home, his dad and his stepmom. And he tells his dad, he doesn't want to come in. He's looking a little frazzled. He basically tells his dad that he shot his wife's ex-boyfriend. They don't call the police. He's like, he'll just wait. Tyler goes to his sister's house. They come, he's arrested the next day. His sister calls and says, hey, Tyler's arrested for the... Your son just said that he shot somebody and you don't call the police.
No, and then it's like, oh, he's going to stay the night at his sister's. Like, him and his wife just had a fight and, he needs time to cool off.
And you go to bed on that. Like, it didn't seem that he was at all disturbed in him telling what was going on. Eugene didn't seem at all disturbed by the fact that your son just came to your door and told you that he shot somebody. You didn't ask no questions. What happened? Were you fighting? What did we do? Is he okay? You didn't ask anything. You just let him leave. And then
to me, he acted surprised that he got arrested the next day at his sister's house.
Eugene acted, yeah. Like what why would he get arrested? He doubles down, not Tyler, but Eugene doubles down on the fact that his son's not evil. His son's not evil, and he didn't mean to do it.
Now, I don't think the man's evil, but I think that he didn't come down there to patty cake. He didn't come down there to say who was the best. He didn't come down to say none of that.
No, no, not at all. He knew what he was doing. He went
And
there.
when you bring a gun, you're already saying,
You're anticipating doing something or
yeah.
something happening. And, he said that he wanted to make an impression. Of what sort? What sort? And I think that some of the things that Tyler was doing, again, speculation based on what we saw on the show. I think that Tyler was trying to get his dad to do something. Show me
He was craving
something.
yeah, he was craving discipline because he went to the military and he was a model citizen after that.
Mhm.
He was craving discipline from his father.
Instead of all this crazy drivel that you're giving me, give me something. Show that you care about me more than you care about your religion. And or to prove that nothing is wrong with me or nothing is wrong with you, that it's wrong with the world. No, something is wrong with you, Eugene. So all these little things that Tyler was doing, I think he was doing that to grab his dad's attention, because he could have killed him when he threw the knife. He could have beat him up several times, but he didn't do that. He wanted his dad to be like, stop it. We need to talk. Even when coming to him after he shot the guy, do you want to come in? And then you let him leave.
I think just my speculation too. But I think Tyler's dad is one of those people who goes to church every week, puts on his happy face, have the perfect family, the perfect wife, nothing's going wrong. And at the whole time the house was burning down in the background.
Yeah.
That's the impression that he gave me, that he was so into painting this happy face that we're doing fine and all of that, that he couldn't even pay attention to what his son was doing, because that would break the idea that he put out that his family was. And
Yes.
I know I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because you go to church. Church is supposed to be for sick people, or for those who know that we can't do it without Christ, and that we are all sinful creatures. And if we're all sinful creatures and if we can't do this without Christ, there's no such thing as a perfect family. And you should feel comfortable to be able to come to your church family and saying, I'm having problems with my son. Is there anyone who can help me? But if you're too
See,
busy trying to act like nothing is happening, and you're this happy family and everything's great, and then we make gingerbread man, and we have spaghetti and garlic bread on Fridays.
but what if he goes to the type of church that everyone has that same attitude, that you really
Stepford wife church folks.
yes, like you can't come to us and tell us about your problems, because then that means that you're not a good Christian, because you're not praying hard enough. And we both know people that will give you a prescription for prayer but not take actual medicine. Oh, I'm just gonna pray it away. The Lord gonna see me through. No, the Lord told you to take that damn aspirin, is what he told you. But that's the prescription that they'll give. You're not praying hard enough. You're not faithful enough. You're not tithing enough. Don't bring me your actual problem, because the problem is you not praying hard enough. So if he goes to a Stepford type church, you're gonna pray to a Stepford type God, and that's what you're gonna get. Just the doctor said to pray it. The doctor said to put water on them. Everybody's like, just do what's on the
Do you
surface
think
next to
that
it.
he was telling to baptize him? Or was he telling to just put water on him? Because now that you're saying that, there might have been, you need to baptize your son. Your son needs to be baptized.
It could be a great metaphor for that. Definitely. Definitely. But there was nothing wrong with Tyler. Like you said, had Tyler had a difference, some discipline at all, and his father would have embraced him outside of just giving him a prescription for prayer, Tyler most likely would have been a very different person, and we would not be talking about. He would not be a subject on Evil Lives Here. Like it just wouldn't. It wouldn't be a thing.
And like I said, this was more of a documentary about his father
Eugene.
more than it was
Mhm.
Tyler.
Mhm. Yeah. If you watch this again, this is season 13, episode 3. You will understand exactly what we're talking about. That's on ID Discovery. Now also, and this is going to lead to what we're going to talk about next, trauma porn. Episode 2 of season 13 revisits the murders of Michelle Blair. Now, I have
That was
not
hard.
watched episode 2 because it was hard enough long time ago, 2 years ago, when we did the episode on Michelle Blair.
See, I didn't do that episode with you guys.
Yeah, I think it was like our 4th or 5th episode. It was very early when we first started. And I think we should redo it. But I have not watched episode 2 because this episode of Evil Lives Here actually comes from the perspective of her surviving daughter.
But you know what was interesting about that episode? After watching the actual, because you know I love watching the police interrogation. I watched the police interrogation where she was totally different than she portrayed herself in court. She was like, telling them what happened. I know I did bad. Of course, she was blaming on them. She think that they had done something to the child, and the child was like, "Yeah, they did it to me. Yes, they hit me this way over that." But she was totally not the person she was in court. She was subdued. She was just talking back and forth with the lady. She didn't raise her voice. She was having problems reading because they told her to read back her answers to the questions. She was having problems reading back her answers, like realizing what she did and what she said, which was a total difference from how that she acted a straight up fool in court.
Did they, in that episode, in episode 2, did they only show what was in court, or did they show a part of Michelle that was in the interrogation?
They did not show that at all. It was the daughter telling what she experienced in the home.
Okay.
They ended up getting evicted. But when the daughter tells the story, she says that they have to move. But what I got from the interrogation and what I got from watching them, because she was a child, she didn't realize that they were being evicted that day and the people were coming in to put their stuff out. She thought that her mom just took her to the neighbors. Mm-hmm. But after watching the interrogation and stuff, I realized that the people were coming to put their stuff out. And that's how
they had already been evicted a long time ago.
Yeah, that's how they ended up finding the freezer. Now, I didn't know that because I really didn't know the story that much because I didn't do it with you guys. But her as a child, she knew that they had to move, but it didn't seem like that was the day that they was about to get their stuff out. It seemed like that was her mom just took her to the neighbors and said, "Can you watch my kids for a minute?"
Yeah.
And she said the next thing you know is she saw her mom on TV.
Yeah. It was I will honestly say it more so than, and this is like the dichotomy of doing this, is more so than, I don't even know how to say this, watching her reactions and her antics in court was harder than anything, and her descriptions of her kids and what she says was very, very hard to take. And then knowing what she did to her kids and how she did this was like,
and that's the thing about the episode that you probably won't be able to watch, is because she is telling, she was the older sister, and she is telling exactly what happened, that how her sister suffered from.
She took part in it. Her mom made her.
She feels so much guilt for that because her brother, she didn't know, she didn't play any part into that, and that, she got to say goodbye and stuff, and she didn't get to say goodbye to her sister because basically her mom had her to help and her sister was still alive. She didn't get to say goodbye to her, but her explaining what happened, it was a lot.
Yeah. The one thing though, I will say about a lot of the people that we talk about, the things that we talk about, there's no video that we see constantly looping over and over. Like, you have to go and search for this stuff. You might see still pictures and you'll definitely get descriptions and articles, but one of the things that makes it very hard to talk about certain subjects that are currently in the news, and especially in the last 15 to 20 years, with the blow up of social media, it's very hard. And I don't know who coined the phrase, but it is what it is, trauma porn. It's very hard for us to, especially for me, I'm going to speak for myself on this part. It's very hard for me to watch. It's almost impossible for me to watch
Another person suffering.
Yeah, I can't. Michelle Blair was the hardest one that we've talked about. Now, again, this is crazy to even say that some are worse than others when it comes to these crimes. Some I can stomach, and I read about it and I'm like, okay, this happened. Let's talk about it. Let's give our perspective about it. Some things I dare not touch. One of the things that there's a person that constantly asks us, when are you going to talk about Gabriel Gonzalez? When are you going to talk about Gabriel Hernandez? When are you going? And I'm like, we're not. We're not. Well, why? You can do this one, but you can't talk about him. And I'm like, hell no, I cannot. I'm going to be honest. I remember when that happened, the trial and all of that. I didn't follow it very, very much at the time. But when the documentary came out, I did not finish. I couldn't. Some things just touch you in a different type of way. And I think that once your peace is disturbed, you can't do it. One of the ones that we did, there was a little girl that we talked about, and we were really talking about the reaction of her killers in court. And her mom messaged us and was telling us that we got some things wrong, but she didn't want to revisit and talk about it. And I really, at that point, it really clicked for me. Like, we are really talking about somebody's baby. And we really weren't focused on this time on the victim. We were focused on the ridiculousness of how criminals and murderers act once they get sentenced for things that they did. So that was the focus of what we were talking about that episode, but that's what brought that on. And you feel bad about a lot of things, even talking about it, because you know that these people have family. Some of them are still alive. Some of them might see the podcast, any of that. And you're taking that risk just by talking about, even though it's public information. But there are certain things that I cannot watch. I think when I hit my limit on things that I could see and not internalize them and not be completely devastated and heartbroken, the last person, and I promise you I'm trying not to cry, the last person that I wasn't even able to watch, but I knew that I could not watch any further, was Sandra Bland. After her death, I just can't. I cannot. And it's because she looks like me. And I think this is true for every human being. When the victim looks like you, looks like your son, your daughter, your nephew, you can't do it. Because Trayvon Martin's mom said, this is our son. This is our son. And I think a lot of people resonated with that. Like, not that it hadn't happened before, but that's our son. And I think when she said that, it clicked for a lot of African-American people. Like, you can no longer ignore any of this, because he does look like somebody's nephew or son that you might know. And from that point, there are certain things that if it's on video and they say that this person, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I can't. And it's crazy that we do a show about murder and crime, but there are certain things that we just can't touch. And it's totally selfish. What do you
But I can't handle those type of videos. Any of those police videos, I cannot watch. I have two sons. They're grown. come and go as they please. My one son doesn't even live in town. And you just hope that the things that you've taught them, that, everything works out. And then you just pray that they don't come in any kind of situation where they may come,
Harm.
come to harm, or even a situation that would put them in the situation of having that happen. And that's not even, I mean, it's something normal to be stopped by the police officer if you're driving too fast or whatever. That's just something that happens, and
It's
then you
not
just
normal to
pray.
die for it, though.
Yeah, but you pray that doesn't even happen, because you see so much. And then, it was different. It was hard when my kids were small with Trayvon and all that. It was hard because I saw myself in him because he looked like me. But it's even harder now because at that time my kids were still under my care. And, I remember my husband would be big on them, telling them to keep their hands out of their pockets. Don't walk around with your hands in your pockets. And I don't think they really understood that until Trayvon, why they just can't do certain things. But now they're no longer in my safety, and they're out living in this world, and I can't protect them. So I don't like watching those videos, and I feel for the mother. I feel for the mother because I have sons. I haven't lost my sons, but I feel because I have sons, and he was so close to home. Home was right there. And whenever they say that they cry out to their mother, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. It's almost like I don't even want to think about it because I have to put it out my mind, or I can't function every day.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. And I think that it's not that I am anesthetized to the pain or anything, because when you think about it, none of this is new for us. When you said not walking around with your hands in your pockets, my grandfather used to say that to my brothers before cell phones. Don't walk around with your hands in your pocket. These are lessons that he would have learned as a young man growing up in rural Alabama. Don't walk with your hands in your pockets. Don't give them a reason to stop you, to accuse you, because for them, I think in our generation, we kind of lost that fear. But for them and the kids now, it's very much a real thing that this little innocent thing could lead to death, or
your life.
Oftentimes,
and it's PTSD. It's PTSD basically. And I asked my son, I said, do you have racial, I don't even know what you call it, PTSD? And he was like, what? He was like, I don't know. And I was like, I do. I was like, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. It's too much pain attached to it. It's too close for me.
Right. It's and the reason why we're talking about this is because, of course, recently, and since this happened, there's been other deaths too, but in the news now is the death and murder of Tyree Nichols in Memphis. And he cried out for his mom in a senseless beating. Like, you can't even really get to the bottom of what was going on.
And I think that's part of why our grandparents specifically, and probably my mother's parents, you don't really know much about how they grew up. So you'll know little things, but they don't like talking about the past.
They don't talk about it. And it's the same reason why we can't watch the videos now. Even with Shanquilla, I did not watch the video of what happened in that hotel room.
I didn't either.
I read the articles because I cannot see that young woman. I have a daughter her age. Now, granted, my daughter is pretty much a loner. She hangs out with her cousins. But just like you with sons, my daughter is adventurous as hell. Like, she just, it's not even an inkling in her head that Lola,
something could go wrong.
The people out there, it's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust the world around you. So I can't watch those things because I know it does happen, and I don't want to be in that mother's shoes. I empathize with these mothers. I don't want to be them. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that because nobody wants to be in this position. But like you said, like our grandparents, they don't talk about it. I have an uncle, and no one in my family is my grandmother's older brother. No one talks about him. No one ever talked about him. Like, you knew he existed, but no one. He died in 1955, February of 1955. My grandmother was pregnant with my mom. He died in the Army. My grandmother had this plaque on the wall by the front door, and it was just there forever. No one, it's like it's just something by the front door. And I remember reading it one day, and I saw his name, and so I asked her. I had met all of her brothers, and I asked her about this brother, and she didn't say anything. So I kept bugging her, and she's like, "I don't want to talk about it." And she just, I kept bugging her. She said, "He died. That was it. He died." So a couple of years ago, I was on ancestry.com, and I was looking. I found one thing, and it was an application that my great grandmother filled out so that he could have his military designation on his stone. Okay. That's the only thing that I found. So I kept digging a little more, found out. Now, in my head, in the years between my grandmother saying he died and me being on ancestry, in my head, I made up that he had come home, and being a man in uniform, something happened to him. He got lynched or something. I made that up in my head because I just knew that was it. And I don't think I was far off, but I did find out that he died at an army base in Germany. And I applied to find out what happened for the records. They will not send them. So I can only again speculate that being a Black private first class in the Army in Germany in 1955, what happened to him? Because there's nothing that says what happened to him. None of my grandmother's surviving siblings have ever talked about this man. So again, these are just like, it's the thing that no one talks about because it's likely that he met with violence. I don't know. And
too painful.
The bad part of it is, my grandmother has 2 surviving brothers. I don't want to ask them. There are also some of her nieces and nephews that are old enough to have remembered him, but I don't want to ask them because I don't want to bring them that trauma back, if in fact it was that. So in 30 years, our grandkids are going to be asking us, where were you when this happened? And hopefully we're able to process the pain and talk about it in a way that our parents and grandparents aren't. But it's much the same thing. It is a cycle. Just the other day,
it makes me think how just constantly living in fear, and how much they lived in fear that something, you just stick to yourself. I remember family members, they're asking, you're close to Montgomery, like, what did you participate in the everything that was going on? And they were like, no, because it was like he was coming in as an outsider, and they had jobs and things that they, when you were done, I still have to live. I still have to work. I still have to take care of my family.
These people are going to know my face.
And I think that's probably why they ended up doing the Children's March, because they couldn't find enough adults to walk out in Main Street of the city and, protest or whatever, and when they did Children's March in Birmingham. But you still have to live, and you're constantly afraid, if I participate in this, I already know that this person and this person and this person have been, something happened to them, or we all have somebody who had to be sent away because they might get killed, or they fought a white man, or they did something, they had to be sent away, and that constant fear of, I got to walk this straight and narrow line just to survive day to day, and to make sure that my family's okay.
Yeah.
How much stress does that put
I
on
don't
you?
want to add any more risk to my already risky life. And I don't think, like you said, your sons are like, they don't have that sense of fear. And that's beautiful that they don't. It is absolutely beautiful that if you were young and Black in this country or any country around the world, that you have the luxury of not fearing, of you don't have that weight on your shoulders that we have, our parents had, our grandparents and generations back have. Um, I don't know,
But it could be for them that it's too painful for them to talk about.
could be, could be.
That if you constantly fear that, like, you won't be able to go outside, and it was the kid that doesn't talk for real, so I would have to ask the other kid.
Yeah.
uh, I ain't gonna get much out of him, barely get out what's the weather out of him.
Right.
I'm gonna have to ask the other one. But it's something that you have to put, I'm sure, like, I have to put it in the back of my mind, and I can't think about it every time I think about them leaving or going out of town, uh, walking out the door. It's something that I can't really think about because I won't be able to function.
Yeah, it's those extra added rules. It's like the green book for life. That most other people don't have to give. Sandra Bullock, she adopted 2 Black kids. And I don't know the entire context of this conversation, but she said something to the tune of, as a white woman, and I'm totally paraphrasing this for context, but as a white woman, she never would or had understood fear like she does now.
Can you even comprehend living a life where you didn't have to do that? Like,
Right. How
I
beautiful
can't
that
even
would be.
comprehend. I know that there are people who go out and they expect to come home, and if
And
somebody
they
comes
do.
home late or doesn't call, they're like, "Oh, they're just running
They're just at a
behind."
friend's house. We go into a panic. It's a panic. But she was saying that that now that she has her son, she can empathize more because not that she understands what it's like to be Black, but she understands the fear of loving someone who is Black. And
And then
I'm paraphrasing.
that's the privilege that we speak of. It's not monetary. It's not that you're not going to be
Mm.
poor. It's not that you had a rough life and was on welfare and you struggled. The privilege is that you can go out your door and not, or you can
Fear.
live
Yeah.
without having that fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she also mentioned how generation after generation, and she didn't specifically say Black women, but she was alluding to it. You can kind of get what she was trying to say. I have to find that clip and send it to you, but she can understand better what that fear for these mothers having this, because now she shares that. And I thought it was, of course, people in the comments eat stuff up, but I thought that was real. That was a real, very real moment. And it wasn't that she was trying to say, I understand what it's like to be Black. No, but I
Yeah.
understand what it's like to have a Black son. And I understand the fear now that I wouldn't have, but I do, because I love this child who happens to be Black. So
They did a study, and they found out that stress, PTSD, it changes the cells in your body, and
mhm.
it's passed down from one generation to the next generation. And I just think about that, and it's something that we have that we can't even control because it came from
Way before us.
it came across the waters with us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That so much so that it has changed our DNA.
And it changes the way we think, changes everything about us. We are constantly, we have the trope of the angry Black woman or the aggressive Black man. It is not even that. We are just constantly in a state of readiness. You know what I'm saying? Said the entertainer said, I wish a motherfucker would. This is the true story. We are in a constant state of readiness. We are always on alert. So if it seems like I'm snappy, it's just because
it's just like James Baldwin, like we're living in a constant state of rage.
Yep. And that's just like when you said it came across the waters with us. That reminds me of Wilkerson's book Cast, talking about the conditions, that we find ourselves in. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm quite sure it's in there. It's a 1619 project. I'm quite sure what you just said, that it came with us across the water, is probably somewhere in that damn book, which, I need to read. That is going to be on my list. I'm gonna buy that tonight. But yeah, in all of what we just said, because we kind of veered off, but all of that still means is that this is the reason why there are certain things that we will talk about them, we'll touch them because they are in the news and they're very concerning, but it's very brief. Sometimes we won't go into detail, and there's very selfish reasons, and it's self-preservation, because there are certain things that I can see that I'll never be able to unsee. And like I said, Sandra Bland is one of them. I cannot see that woman's face without just wanting to just curl up in a ball and just, like grief all over again. We grew up in the era of watching Rodney King. That was the first time that we had seen something happen in our life.
Well, not we have seen, the others seen what we have seen.
Yeah. The world was able to see, even though in the 60s they saw it, but this was in something that was like real time, and there was no reason for it. And now it
was a different generation.
Yeah.
It was a different people when they seen those people being sprayed with the hose and all that really was the start of the civil rights movement, because it was just, oh my gosh. And then time had passed, and then that happened where people will be able to see, like, this does happen. We're not just making this up.
Yeah, there was a period of between the end of the civil rights movement and through the 70s, through the 80s.
We thought we had overcome.
We were like in a post-racial society. Like, this doesn't happen anymore. No, it's not on video. So we had gotten complacent. We were like, sigh of relief. Yeah, you get stopped by the police sometimes. Be careful. Don't be out certain neighborhoods at night or whatever. But it really puts this right back in our laps, right back in our living rooms, to say we are still not safe.
I mean, where we remember the bad police officers in our patrolling our neighborhoods. We remember them harassing our family members and being too rough and doing too much. One in particular that everybody knows his name. Just doing too much, just stopping you just because you're walking down the street and pulling you off into the car and frisking you for no reason, and just being just
but extra. See, things like that are localized to a particular community, and the people of that community can talk about it, but the next community over, now you've got a whole nother different cop or set of cops that do the same thing. And then over there, you've got another set of cops that do the same thing. But when it comes to something that becomes a national or international incident, and everybody in the world knows about it, it's good for everyone to know about it, but it's so much trauma added back into our lives. George Floyd touched the entire world, his death, but it added more trauma to us. It adds more every single time. And it was impossible to avoid any of the footage of what going on with George Floyd. But when this last time, when Tyree Nichols, when they were saying that they were going to release the video, do you know that I went through every time that his name in this video was mentioned, I deleted the video. Like, I X'd out, like, I don't want to see it on my timeline. Not interested, because I wanted my timeline and my algorithm to change so that I would not see it. And I haven't seen it since. I did that on Twitter. I did that on Instagram. I did that on Facebook, even TikTok. I don't want to see it. I want to use my social media to escape the reality of my life. If I want to see something like that, I need to deliberately go and get it. I don't want it to accidentally pop up when I'm trying to see somebody slide down the damn stairs and bust their ass on ice. Like, I don't want that to interrupt my entertainment. So when it comes to things like this, trust me, on this show, there are some things that we're going to curate for ourselves and you won't see it. It's not that we're ignorant. It's not like we're trying to pass it by. But just like we tell our audience, if there's something that disturbs you, triggers you, please click the X in the right-hand corner and skip to the next episode. That's what we're doing. We are skipping to the next episode and not, we talk about it amongst ourselves because, hell, it's a part of our community, but I don't want to watch the video. So that's why we don't do that. And of course, at any time, you might have a show or you might have a subject or you want to ask us why we didn't talk about this or why we didn't bring up something, you're definitely welcome to do that and we will respond in kind. You can comment, send us an email or however you want to do it. But yeah, if we don't do it, there's probably a reason why we don't do it. So there's that. Any last thoughts or anything?
Comments or concerns?
Yes. There was something I had that was funny, but I don't. Oh, not funny. But let's talk about 600-Pound Life. Where are they now? You know what episode I'm talking about with Aaron and Ashley, because this just came up on TikTok. How was that? Who was that? Season 6?
Was that the brother and sister?
No, Aaron was the one that lost all the weight. His father, his mom died, his daddy died, and then he got married to the girl from online. I think that was season 6. So they're doing, where are they? 600-Pound Life, where are they now? And they're going season by season. So I think this was season 6, I believe, but it's Aaron's story. And he lost weight. He lived with his parents. His mom dies. He deals with that. He still continues his journey. He's taking care of his father. His father passes. He continues his journey. COVID happens. He's in the middle of a pandemic. He's isolated. He continues to lose the weight. Well, he gets online. He finds himself a bride. Now, Brandy and I are speculating. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. So don't come for us. We just saying. We think that Ashley used to be Ashton. Now, if you go watch the episode, you can make your own determination, but I'm just saying, whatever. But she's quite round herself, quite circular. And he's getting to the point where he has to lose, he goes back to doctor now, he has to lose 30 more pounds in order for him to get skin removal surgery because it's pulling on his back. You know, it's a health hazard at this point. And she doesn't want to go to the appointment because she already said, like, I don't want to go with you because I think he's going to start focusing on me and my weight. Well, ma'am, he should. They get to the appointment. That's exactly what Dr. Now says. Like, okay, congratulations on your marriage. You need to lose 30 more pounds, but she's not going to help. She's not going to help unless she gets on board, because if she's eating bad, she's going to feed you bad, blah, 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 blah. She gets pissed off. She leaves. She tells Aaron that if he continues to work with Dr. Now, she is going to leave him. You dirty, popped, marked, bad makeup bitch. I'm so angry. I'm just so angry. Like, I just feel like she got him at a vulnerable time, because you knew I don't think he had ever had a girlfriend before. You find him online. He likes you.
And he ain't going to be no good till he get that skin removed.
But
because it's hanging over his jeans.
And he said it's making his back hurt because it's pulling. It's a lot of skin, but Dr. Now's like 30 more pounds. You know, she's not encouraging him.
And he's active, and he was dropping it.
He did that for what, 3 more years? And he did it all by himself. And then now she's going to sabotage him.
I want to see what he looks like now. I hope he did not allow that woman to get him back up to 700 pounds.
Well, this is probably, as recent as it can be as far as the show, because it was like 2 years during the pandemic. So it's kind of current, but we might need to do some digging to find out what he looks like.
Well, I did some digging on Mercedes, and they say she might have went on.
Yeah, that's what they said in the show, because she sent her kids back to Ohio and they ain't heard from her since.
Yeah, they said she found her old beau and moved to Kentucky. And her kids hadn't heard from her. Dr. Now hadn't heard from her. Nobody has heard from her. And it's either that she got hopped up on that narcotic.
Well, she did. She definitely gone. She had health issues. So
she done went her weight took her down. And so either way, she done went on. Why would, as much as she seemed like she cared for her kids, well, that we only seen that little bit of the show.
Right.
That she would leave, but we know women who get up there and get them a man and then roll out. But she was knocking on heaven's door.
And that's why we're gonna go ahead and cut out, ladies and gentlemen.
She was severely overweight, and she kept gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining. The only time she lost weight was when she was in a controlled atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think she wanted to do psychotherapy. I'm trying not to talk like Dr. Now, but she didn't want to do psychotherapy.
Because how much you gotta lose, Brandy? How much you gotta lose? How much weight you gotta lose?
80 pounds, 100 pounds.
Goodness gracious. Y'all, we gonna stop talking about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with our show, but we will go ahead and end the show. Again, if you have any suggestions, criticisms, whatever, at all times be respectful, okay? Because I'm going through a lot right now, so be respectful because I'm ready to snap.
Yeah.
And so look, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or info at blackcoffeecrime.com. You can go ahead and hit us up, but we will see y'all on the next episode. Good night, y'all. What?